leave it there. I'll put it on my altar. All righty. Thank you. So today is a special day. On the Vaishnava calendar is Bijmashtami. And Bijmashtami is the day that Bhishmadev left the planet. So we'll be reading about Bhishmadev's departure from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam today with some commentary. And remember Bhishmadev. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Sodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhavarikishari Saterasana Shishi Mata's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Siko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Jai Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Brindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki, Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Prihat Mridanga Ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki, Gaur Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So as I said earlier, today is Bhishmastami, which is the 8th day of the waxing moon, the day on which Bhishma Dev left this world, which was 58 days after he was defeated by Arjuna on the battlefield, and was filled with arrows in his whole body. So he's been lying on a bed of arrows for 58 days, which is like from the first day of winter till now. And now, at an auspicious moment, right after Vasant Panchami, which is the sort of the first day of spring in India, when the sun enters into a certain phase of the year. So at this auspicious moment, he is going to leave his body after 58 days lying on a bed of arrows. And of course, Bhishma Dev is a very exalted personality. He is one of the 12 Mahajans, or great authorities on Vedic wisdom. And he is, of course, one of the main actors in the Mahabharata and in the whole story of the Mahabharata from the very beginning, with his special birth to kings from King Shantanu and Ganga Devi, through his terrible vow. The terrible vow was that he would remain a brahmachari throughout his life, even though he was a Kshatriya warrior, and that's never done by Kshatriyas. His name was Devavrata, or it always was Devavrata, but when he made this vow, the demigods from the sky all chanted Bhishma. So Bhishma Dev is this great personality. He is the grandfather of all the Kauravas, including the Kurus and the Pandavas. And this section of the Bhagavatam, which is entitled, this chapter, Canto 1, Chapter 9. The passing away of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna is a slight overlap with the Mahabharata, because in the Mahabharata there's the section called the Bhishma Parva, and the Bhishma Parva is where Bhishma Dev gives his instructions to Maharaj Yudhisthira, and the Bhishma Parva has some similarities with other great parts of Vedic literature, like the Bhagavad Gita or the Uddhava Gita, where very important philosophical points are given by either Krishna or, in this case, Bhishma Dev, in order to give us instructions on how to live our spiritual lives and understand the personality of Godhead and service to Him. So I will read through the chapter. There's 47 verses. I'll read through the chapter just in the English, and I will highlight a few purports at times, mostly towards the end of the chapter. And that way we will hear about Bhishma Dev and his passing from this world. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gananganan Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swabadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminitanamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nirvasesa Shunyavadi Prasyacha Deshatarni Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Text number 1. Sutta Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhisthira went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhishma Dev was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. At that time, all his brothers followed him on beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyas and rishis like Domya, the learned priests of the Pandavas, and others. Text 3. O sage among the Brahmanas, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus, King Yudhisthira appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera, surrounded by his companions, the Guyakas. Seeing him, Bhishma, lying on the ground, like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pandava king Yudhisthira, along with his younger brothers and Lord Krishna, bowed down before him. And a purport here. Lord Krishna was also a younger cousin of Maharaj Yudhisthira, as well as the intimate friend of Arjuna. But all the family members of the Pandavas knew Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord, although conscious of his supreme position, always behaved in a humanly custom. And so he also bowed down before the dying Bhishma Dev as if he were one of the younger brothers of King Yudhisthira. So Krishna plays the part of an ordinary human being, although everyone knows that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So that is why Krishna is also bowing down to Bhishma Dev. And of course, Bhishma Dev is a great devotee, and the Lord always honors his devotees. Text 5. Of the descendants of King Bharat, Bhishma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the rishis among the demigods, brahmanas and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. This is a great assembly to see Bhishma Dev leave this world and enter into the spiritual world. All the sages like Parvat Muni, Narada, Domya, Vyas, the incarnation of God, Brihadashva, Bardharaj, and Parshuram, and disciples, Vishishta, Indrapramada, Trita, Gritasmada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Koshika, and Sudarshan were present. And many others, like Shukadev Goswami and other purified souls, Kashyapa and Angirasa and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there. So a huge group of personalities, all exalted personalities, surrounding Bhishma Dev, who is lying there, ready to leave his body. And it's important to note that their disciples came too. So quite an assembly of personalities. Text 9. Bhishma Dev, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. So it's described that expert religionists, they know how to adjust everything according to time and place. And since Bhishma Dev was one of the 12 great authorities to preach Krishna consciousness, he was qualified to receive all these great sages. And he was quite qualified to understand how to leave the world at a perfectly auspicious time. And therefore, Bhishma Dev here is glorified as being this great personality who was actually was executing the mission of Krishna consciousness throughout his life in so many different ways. Lord Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhishma Dev, and since Bhishma Dev knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly. The sons of Maharaj Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishma Dev congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed with love and affection. Krishna consciousness, or being connected to Krishna in loving devotional service, is not dry. It is not something where we detach ourselves into a place of void feelings and void thought, but rather it is full of love and affection. And here we see the love and affection between Bhishma Dev, the Lord, and other devotees. Text number 12. Bhishma Dev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, and religion." And of course, Bhishma Dev here is referring to the trials that the Pandavas went through for so many years, even though they were, as it's stated here, great souls, and they were the sons of religion personified. In the case of Yudhisthira, of course, his father is Yamaraj, so Dharmaraj, or the perfect follower of Dharma. So this is again making reference to the fact that for the devotees sometimes it's a little difficult. However, they are exalted because they're protected by the Brahmanas, by the Lord, and by the practice of their Dharma. 13. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also, because of your actions. So he's reflecting back to Kunti Devi. And Kunti Devi, of course, the previous chapter, 8 of the first canto, this included her great prayers to Lord Krishna. And Kunti Devi also suffered, even though a great devotee. And in fact, in the case of Kunti Devi, she even saw the suffering as a benefit so that she would have a stronger bond to remember Krishna. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. Oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhisthira, the son of the demigod controlling religion, Bhima, the great fighter with a club, the great bowman, Arjuna, with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas. Such great personalities were the Pandavas, born of demigods. Vayu is the father of Bhima, and Indra is the father of Arjuna, and the Ashvini Kumars are the father of Nakula and Sahadev, and of course Yamaraj is the father of Yudhisthira. So therefore, he's saying how wonderful it is. I mean, how is it possible even that the son of the demigod controlling religion can be put into these difficulties? But he says it's through the inevitable power of time. O king, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. What an important point. That if indeed the sages and the great devotees are, quote, bewildered, of course their bewilderment is in connection with Krishna, how much more so should we understand that the philosophers of this world who are struggling to understand how Krishna is situated and how we are situated and what is going on in this world, how much less they can understand the purpose of the Lord. Text number 17. O best among the descendants of Bharata, Yudhisthira, I maintain, therefore, that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. You are now the appointed administrative head, and my Lord, you should now take care of those subjects who are now rendered helpless. As the war is just ended, millions of soldiers have been killed. The kingdom is reeling from this horrible tragedy, and now Yudhisthira is taking over as the king. And again, it's emphasized it's all within the plan of the Lord. People sometimes complain, why are bad things happening? But nothing really ever bad happens under the Lord's watch. He's never doing anything to harm the devotee. The travails and the problems of this world for the devotee are tests and chances for the devotee to remember Krishna. And for the non-devotees, there are reactions to misuse of their freedom. But Krishna himself is never, ever acting to harm any living entity. This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayan, the supreme enjoyer, but he is moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. So here he is declaring that Krishna, he's the origin of Narayan. And of course, Narayan is seen by everyone as the Lord. And the fact is that the Lord is very great. He has a great position. He stands above all else. But Krishna, he actually enters into relationships with his devotees, and so the devotees have a chance to associate with the Supreme Lord personally, without the awe and reverence of being subjects of the great, grand, powerful, almighty Narayan. How great Krishna is that he allows the devotees to have this very intimate relationship. O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidentially about his glories through direct contact. O King, that personality whom, out of ignorance only, you thought to be your maternal cousin, your very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And Arjuna also echoes this in the Bhagavad Gita. When he sees the universal form, he steps back and says, oh, I didn't realize who you really were. And I was joking with you, lying on the same bed, eating. I may have even, just hanging out. And how I must have offended you. But no, there's no offense. This is pastime. So this personality and this ignorance, the ignorance of the devotee here is not ignorance like the materialist. This ignorance is so the devotee can actually have a loving relationship with Krishna unimpeded by any sort of block that is caused when one only sees the Lord as majestic. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and he is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever he does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th chapter, Krishna says, I am equal to everyone. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. He's not taking sides anywhere. He is equal to everyone. But, here we go on here. Bhishma Dev continues in text 22. Yet, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. Yes, he's equal to everyone, just like the judge is equal to everyone as the judge. But when he has family, he has a special place for them. And he may be equal to them also in the courtroom, but outside the courtroom, he has a very nice, warm relationship with his family. So for the devotees, like Bhishma Dev, he's saying, I'm ending my life, but you're so kind, you're here because of my unflinching service to you. The personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. What a guarantee it is here. He appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation. And the important point being here is that we have to focus our mind on the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada writes in his purport, yoga means concentration of the mind detached from all other subject matter. And actually such concentration is samadhi, or 100% engagement in the service of the Lord. And one who concentrates his attention in that matter is called a yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana. Can't remember the last two lines now. Anyway, text 47 of the 6th chapter. And of all yogis, he who's united me in love is the most intimately connected to me and is the highest of all. So this is the point. We want to follow in the footsteps of great personalities like Bhishma Dev. So at the time of leaving our body, at the time of death, Krishna will be there before us because of our attentive devotion and meditation. Text number 24. May my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face with eyes as red as the rising sun is smiling, kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhisthira, after hearing Bhishma Dev speak in that appealing tone, asked him, in the presence of all the great rishis, about the essential principles of various religious duties. At Maharaj Yudhisthira's inquiry, Bhishma Dev first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. He then explained that by divisions acts of charity, the pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself acquainted with the truth. While Bhishma Dev was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. So this is a summation of actually the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata, where there's all this high philosophical understanding. But here we're actually focusing in the Bhagavatam on Bhishma's actual passing away before Krishna. Text 30. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendentally to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. This is a lesson for us here, how to leave the material body in consciousness of Krishna. Bhishma Dev said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending on the material world, although from him only the material world is created. Krishna comes to the material world, which he creates himself, in order to be the leader of the devotees and to engage in pastimes with the devotees. Text 33. Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamal tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results. It's said that actually the best prayers we can pray are the prayers of the great devotees. So these prayers of Bhishma Dev, like the prayers of Queen Kunti, like the prayers of Gajendra, like the prayers of Dhruva, like the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, these prayers are the perfect examples of how a pure devotee prays and how they understand what is important to pray for. And what is important to pray for is to remember Krishna and be attracted to Krishna, not to get some benediction for this material world. No place do you see Bhishma Dev saying, give me more power, give me victory in the battle. No, he's praying only to see Krishna. On the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hooves of his horses. And because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go unto Sri Krishna. So the fact is that the relationship that Krishna had with Bhishma Dev is a relationship of it's a servitude relationship with chivalry. So instead of flower garlands, Bhishma Dev offers arrows. And Krishna takes those arrows as love and receives he has a relationship with Bhishma Dev in this chivalrous mood. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna, in obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna, entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana. And while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. Everyone who died at the Kurukshetra was given the great benediction of at least liberation. Krishna completely controlled the battlefield. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. Bhagavad Gita he's referring to here. Fulfilling my desire and sacrificing his own promise not to fight, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran toward me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. May he, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who awards salvation, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me, as if angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was scattered, and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds. And the glory, and this mood of chivalry, this is glorious and all attractive. At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, a pure devotee of the Lord constantly sees the presence of the Lord within himself because of being transcendently related by loving service. Such a pure devotee cannot forget the Lord for a moment. This is called trance. And then Prabhupada goes on to say how the mystic yogi works very hard to try to have some kind of relationship with the Lord. But a personality like Bhishma Dev was a pure devotee, and as a military marshal, he constantly remembered the battlefield feature of the Lord as Parthasarthi, the chariot driver of Arjuna. Therefore, the Lord's pastime as Parthasarthi is also eternal. So the point being here is that not having to work hard in meditation, Bhishma Dev naturally remembered Krishna in a certain relationship, which is of this dasya in chivalry, where the love between them is an eternally ongoing pastime. This is the mood of the pure devotee. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Vrajabhumi, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance. And here is an allusion to the gopis, showing that Bhishma Dev, being a Mahajana, he's aware of everything. And of course, his relationship with Krishna is not the same as the gopis. The gopis is the acme, they're the highest. But Bhishma Dev's relationship is perfect and complete. So it's the highest for him. There's no envy. There's no comparison. But he's mentioning this as a point so that we can understand how the pure devotee like Bhishma Dev is in full knowledge. At the Rajasuya Yagna sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhisthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned scholars. And in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality. This happened during my presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. We can remember the pastimes of the Lord to keep the Lord within our mind. Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord, Sri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. Sutta Goswami said, thus Bhishma Dev merged himself in the Supersoul, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent and his breathing stopped. Now it's important to note here what this merging is, and they'll be mentioned in this next purport. Text 44. Knowing that Bhishma Dev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. Everyone's stunned just at this moment. But Prabhupada makes it very clear. To enter into or to become merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Lord means to enter the original home of the living being. The living beings are all component parts and parcels of the Absolute Personality of Godhead, and therefore they are eternally related to him, with him as the servitor and the served. We're not talking about Sayuja Mukti here. We're talking about Bhishma Dev entering into a relationship with the Lord in his eternal position. Therefore, Bhishma Dev, as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord in his eternal form as part of Parthasarthi predominates over the unconditioned living beings who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. The love and affection which bind the Lord and the devotees are exhibited in the case of Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev never forgot the Lord in his transcendental feature as the Parthasarthi, and the Lord was present personally before Bhishma Dev while he was passing to the transcendental world. That is the highest perfection of life. Not entering into the... So some of the Mayavadi might say, oh, this shows you're merging. No, the merging for a devotee means entering into the eternal pastime. O descendant of Brigu, Shaunika, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishma Dev, Maharaj Yudhisthira was momentarily overtaken by grief. All the great sages then glorified Lord Sri Krishna, who was present there by confidential Vedic hymns. Then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna within their hearts. Therefore, thereafter, Maharaj Yudhisthira at once went to his capital, Hastinapur, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic. Of course, his uncle being Dhritarashtra. After this, the great religious king, Maharaj Yudhisthira, executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes and royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. Bhishma Deva ki jai. The passing away of Bhishma Deva in the presence of the Lord ki jai. And the instructions that he gives us on how we should pass away from this world ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, Prabhu. Well, in one place there it said in one verse it said they obtained their original forms. Other places we hear that certain demons only got liberation. But there was one verse here I just read. It said that they all obtained their original forms. So that would mean, yes, here it is, text number 39. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death. So meaning that everyone was able to attain their Swarup city in Vaikuntha or wherever that may be by seeing him there, according to this verse. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan